Ryan Curley has a message for the haters. We're going to get to that in a second. Hey, listen, another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge and Ryan Curley getting you through the spring. There were two things that Kirby said tonight, that to me were interesting / important. Number one, you know where I am about practice. He said he didn't think they had a bad practice yet. Number two, and this is important because he's not always been able to say this, but that Georgia is in really good position at quarterback. Kind of your thoughts on everything Kirby had to say, and then if you want to get to the message of the haters.
Yeah, so that'll be one of the last spins you see because I got an email a few minutes ago saying that my new mount arrived.
Yo,
So
let's
I'm going
go.
to spin it. Yeah, for all the people who keep commenting about the spinning and aren't appreciative of it, I thought it was funny. Uh, Kirby, not one of his best friends. I thought he was pretty candid tonight, though. I thought he was pretty candid. It felt like, you never know when there's a lot of truth or lies coming from. Sometimes you don't know exactly what's what, but it felt like he was pretty open with us tonight. The only thing that I thought was weird about him saying I don't think we had a poor practice was a couple weeks ago when he came in really pissed off about how he didn't thought they do well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But he wants the leaders to step up. We talked about it a lot. He was asked about Stetson Bennett, how he's doing, and he got pretty upset about you guys blow everything out of proportion. I thought he was funny tonight, but
what was being blown out of proportion?
The going to class thing, and him being in trouble, all the rumors and all that.
Yeah,
all
but
that
here's the thing, and I mean I don't know if Kirby watches these or sees them or not, but the term "y'all" should not really be used. If there's we didn't report that, so I don't know. Lumping everybody in together is really a disingenuous way to knock the media down. Everybody's not reporting that. So I don't that's where he pisses me off with his stuff. It's stupid. I mean, he's better than that.
Yeah. He puts us all in one category for sure.
It's not y'all.
No,
but anyway.
I think he expects a lot of this team. It was another thing. Another thing that he put us all in one category. He's like, I don't know where you guys get some of this stuff about the scrimmage because some of the things that you guys wrote was just not true.
I have something to say about that.
But he did talk about Stetson made some plays with his legs in the scrimmage that were elusive and what he wants. And I think that the thing I took the most away from what Kirby said tonight was Stetson's playing the best ball he's been playing since he's been at Georgia, is right now.
Okay, two things. Number one, that's one of those things that Kirby talked about with the leg stuff. We reported that in what we were hearing. So, and then secondly, and I'm not going to get into this back and forth stuff with reporters. I mean, I'm not calling anybody into question. It's childlike. I'm not dealing with all that. But there was one report that I saw that we were told was not accurate. But we're not going to play the ball game of, hey, this. I mean, because there's going to be times when we're wrong, and I'm not going to go into a back and forth with stuff. We're relying on what people tell us who are there and can see it with their own eyes. People can let us into a scrimmage. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just a scrimmage. But also, I mean, I don't know why it aggravates coaches that the wrong thing is out there. They can say whatever they want to say happened. I mean, it's from their perspective anyway. But, I mean, I'm not in full hate mode on Kirby right now. I don't really care, to be honest. But, because I think I get his frustration. But at the same time, lumping everybody in the same thing, I mean, because I know he's done this in the past. He's reached out to reporters, okay? So if there's a problem, just reach out to that person or get Claude to talk to him. Now, secondly, the problem with that too, this is a lot of inside baseball here all of a sudden, but there's so many more people that cover this program now than even did when he started, and there were a lot of people at that time. So Maybe he doesn't, really feel like that's part of his job or whatever. But it is something that the lumping everybody in together is, it's just like, I mean, okay. But if Stetson's playing his best football, that might be your words, not Kirby's. Then,
No, those were his words.
well, then, you know where you're going. I mean, we've talked about Stetson a lot. There's always going to be people that hate on Stetson. Our view of Stetson from the scrimmage was that he played well and that the quarterbacks played well, generally speaking. We were only told of one interception with the entire group. So, I think they must have had a pretty good scrimmage offensively. I don't know about the defensive side of the ball. But if they're having good practices, then you're going in the right direction, and that's what you want.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from the last couple of weeks is they're heading into a good spot. It seems like they're being really productive. Just from what we heard about that scrimmage, it sounds like overall a pretty good day. He talked about the new guys that are here. People that are enrolling early that you could tell they were anxious coming in, but that's why they do stuff. And he wants them to be as he doesn't want them to be super anxious when they have to go to Mercedes-Benz and play Oregon. Players like that, younger guys. But I think that so far it's been a productive spring for them. With players out with injury, that's a chance to improve your depth. That is when you've got to take the bad and make good out of it. Brock Bowers is out. Guys like Brock Bowers or John Washington, take advantage and develop your depth. I think that's what they're doing.
Well, have the opportunity to. That's for sure.
Across the entire board, and they're they're gaining guys like Dominic Blaylock and people like A.D. Mitchell and Lab McConkey are getting better. I'm pretty confident in this offense. I am. I think you are too. And the defense is where they have a little bit more shoring up to do, but that's why they have spring ball like this. Jalen Carter is a guy we talked to today. That he is going to be so important. Conditioning was the biggest thing that was talked about. Kirby said it. He said it. If Jalen Carter's conditioned, he's one of the best players in college football.
Well, he's going to be. And there's a couple things real quick. We talked about Stetson a lot. Keep in mind, y'all, that I am giving away one of the 4 copies of DAWGSTRUCTION that we've got that Stetson signed. But you're running out of time to get it. You've got to get it before Saturday night, the 9th at 11:59. And secondly, on Jalen Carter, he is human, though. I mean, he can't be out there for every single snap of any game necessarily the entire season. So, but he does need to be. I never thought that Jalen Carter was really a candidate for having condition issues, but I'm not sure I'm an expert at that. But there's going to have.
I thought he looked a little slimmer.
Okay. No one player is going to get the job done on all of this. On the offensive side of the ball that you were talking about, I mean, look, I know we all influence each other that we're talking about when we talk amongst ourselves, but I think that they should be very good offensively. Folks that I talk to that I trust inside the program feel like they will be good on offense. And if you're good on offense, maybe that will help you go into the season with a little more margin for error. The Oregon game is going to be tough. Don't get me wrong, Ryan. But when you look at Carolina a couple of weeks later, you're playing over there. I think that could be a challenging game for Georgia. There's plenty of road games that are going to be challenging, and you open up at South Carolina 3 weeks into the season, that's going to be a tough place to play. Stetson's never played there. I don't think he ever threw a pass there.
It's a challenging road schedule for Georgia. Now, I think they're better than all those teams, but you've got to go to both Columbia this year. You've got to go to Lexington. You've got to go to Starkville. Those are
they're all candidates for Georgia to get upset. Every road game they play, I'd have to look at it a little bit harder before I say every. But I think they only have 4 true road games because they're playing the 2 neutrals against Oregon and the Gators. Um, and those stadiums won't get taken over by Georgia fans the way that others have. I mean, Starkville, I don't see them get taken over that. They're not going to take over Lexington. They're not going to take over Mizzou or Columbia. There'll be a lot of Georgia fans in Columbia. There'll be a lot of Georgia fans in Columbia. There always are. But those are all going to be kind of challenging knife fights. Now, they are, as you say, much better than these schools. And we're going to have to see where those programs are at when Georgia plays them and vice versa. I mean, Kentucky is going to be a challenging game up there. It's going to be colder than it was at Tennessee, and Tennessee got cold. Okay, and nobody likes playing in the cold.
You talking about this past Tennessee game?
Yeah, it got cold.
Oh, it's cold, man.
Yeah.
That's the game. I was freezing. I had my beanie on. I'm holding the camera and it's metal. But
yeah, not fun. Not fun.
Yeah.
And they got control. And they got control of that game, Ryan. If that game had come down to it in the third or fourth quarter, let's just say you had an Auburn-like game, or either of the games against Alabama, and you're kind of really fighting in the third and fourth quarter with 20 minutes to go. Yeah, I mean I talk about with it. Listen, I'm on the field with these guys. I'm not playing football, but you can really feel it on the field. It's not a lot of fun to try to do something when it's cold out there. It's just not. And these guys are not used to the cold. Now it's April, so we don't have to really worry about that too much yet. But the road games are a little jumpy, a little dicey, and that you play back-to-back state in Kentucky before you host Tech. Those are going to be challenging games. Those are going to be challenging games.
They can definitely be tripped up by one of those schools. I mean, Kentucky, you're returning a pretty good SEC quarterback.
No, you are.
South Carolina, who knows how good Spencer Rattler can be over there? I mean, we know the potential Spencer Rattler has, and
yes,
it could happen there. We don't know that yet.
We don't know. I mean, okay, if South Carolina would have to put it together in a way that we've not seen Shane. Right, I can see your expression. That Shane Beamer has not yet proven he can pull off. I mean, South Carolina had a real issue at quarterback this past year, and coming to Athens in week 3, that was not an ideal situation for them with their quarterback problems.
At night,
yeah. I mean, I'm curious. We're coming up on top of when these games will be released in terms of scheduling. I've not looked at the first week. I would imagine either Georgia, Oregon, or whoever Alabama is playing will be the primetime opener week 1, but on ABC.
Oh, I would have to guess that Georgia's the
well, Georgia, Oregon is going to be a top 10-ish matchup. That would probably be, but I can't recall who Alabama plays. What else did you take from what Kirby had to say tonight?
Talked a little bit about the inside linebackers, how he kind of just expects a lot out of the group. I think, we're under somewhat of an assumption, but somewhat of insight as well, that Jamon Dumas Johnson's going to step up. Pop is what they call him. I did a video about that last week, that, Pop is going to step up and be that guy. But he wants the young guys in there too. You got Xavier Sorey, Tresman Marshall, that's been in the program for a couple of years, but he's on a pitch count. That's, that linebacker core, I think, is their least certain group right now. Yeah. And, he touched on that a little bit. He pretty much agreed that that's, there's not certainty there, that this spring is an opportunity for them to make their mark. I saw, one of the early enrollee freshmen was getting what looked like to be reps with the ones at a practice a couple weeks ago. So Jalen Walker, am I getting that name right? The linebacker
from North Carolina. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
He was getting reps with Pop.
These are all guys that are seriously, legitimately gifted, but
yeah.
Let me just we're talking about this some other time. I did not know Alabama was playing Utah State to open the season, so that won't matter. there are some interesting, there are some interesting games for sure. I'm not sure there's much that competes with Georgia, Oregon. I mean, you got Utah at Florida. That is a real dicey game for the Gators to me. Cincinnati at Arkansas. I mean, you could see the SEC's upper half, at least. Well, I don't know if Arkansas and Florida would both be in the upper half. Those two teams could certainly lose those games. But I'm not seeing a bunch of great marquee matchups, except there are two, and one is bigger than Georgia, Oregon, and that is Notre Dame at Ohio State. But I would imagine Notre Dame plays at Ohio State to open the season, and that's going to probably be a Fox game. So that I don't know if I would put that on at night personally, but that's me. And
that might be the NBC game.
No, it's at Ohio State. It cannot be on NBC. Yeah. I just, it shows how little I've looked forward as all of it is concerned. But that game, I don't know who has that contract, but I would imagine that it will not be ABC. Although something just happened not that long ago, Ryan, to where those two traded those games. But some of the games I just mentioned, Utah, Florida, Florida State plays at LSU, plays in New Orleans at LSU. That'll be Brian Kelly's first game. I talked about Cincinnati, Arkansas. That's interesting. But some of these other games are just kind of trash. I mean, nobody really cares about. I mean, Clemson's going to play at Tech. Clemson is going to kick the shit out of Georgia Tech. So that's not really fascinating. And if they don't, like a season ago, if they don't,
yeah,
there's a problem. Like, there's no excuse for that. I don't think. Why are you laughing?
It's just it somehow always comes back to a little bit of Clemson shit talking. I love it.
Oh, what would you? I mean, I just said they were going to kick the shit out of Georgia Tech, right? I mean, that's not good for Tech.
No, but that Notre Dame Ohio State game could end up being that big noon Fox game. They could make that noon.
They will make it noon. That is their primary place. But I mean, Ohio State, Notre Dame is going to outdraw Georgia, Oregon.
Yeah,
it's just all there is to it.
Just as far as old time fan bases. But that's going to be, I imagine the Georgia, Oregon. There's going to be eyes. There's a lot of storylines in that game, and there's only so much you can take from week one, but you are going to learn a lot. A lot of the stuff that we are talking about here, we're going to really learn that on September 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be. I just seeing now where the big deal receiver at Clemson has torn his ACL, which I was unaware of.
I saw, but that was yesterday, right? That came out. But
shows how locked in I am these days.
Not locked in right now, man.
Not right now. No, I'm competing. I just a little bit slowed down. I don't follow or cover Clemson, so there's that. But
no,
I can't. I mean, Georgia Tech does not have the players, the coaches, the anything to stick with Clemson. Clemson did not play well against Tech this past season. Clemson did not play well against almost anybody that was not named South Carolina. That, at the end of the day, Ryan, is why, even though that week 3 looks a little tricky, South Carolina, I just don't know if they've got the guys that can really play a 4-quarter game with Georgia. I mean, if they didn't have a 4-quarter game with Clemson, Clemson beat their teeth in, man.
I don't think they do either, and they do have good players, but they, at the end of the day, Georgia just outmatches them. Georgia outmatches them. Georgia's got the guys everywhere. It's just we haven't seen some of them do it yet. I think that's the difference. And if they want to win again, the way that they did last year, some guys that haven't done it yet are going to have to do it and lock in. But I'm excited for to learn about how this next scrimmage goes and to.
Right.
And so I'm really excited for G-Day. I'm really itching to get back in Sanford and watch some of these guys play. As this process has gone on the last few weeks, not that I wasn't ever confident, but I've become more and more confident in Stetson having the QB1 job.
Well, I was gonna turn back to I was gonna turn back to Stetson as we get close to the end here. If he's playing well, that's really what you want to hear if you're a Georgia fan, because he's going to be the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season. And if he's playing as well as people are saying that he is, it's not. And people thought he played well Saturday. They didn't say like kind of lit it up or anything like that, but they said he played well. He had a couple of those runs and stuff we talked about and what we were hearing over on Dog Post. If Stetson plays steady, this is going to be a very good Georgia team. And honestly, for the most of the season last year, he did play steady. Um, didn't play great against Florida and did not play well against Alabama in the first game, but not as bad as people thought. Uh, if he's got it together, then Georgia's going to be in pretty good shape. If not, it's going to be a long year, and you're going to play in a New Year's Six.
We've seen everyone's seen what Stetson Bennett brings to Georgia and how well they play when he's just playing pretty well. So
Right.
if he's gotten better, then I mean, the lack of confidence in him as a starter,
That's
I don't
always
completely
going to be there,
understand it.
dude.
It's never gonna go away, and it's a little
Right?
bit extra with him, but
People just won't admit that their assessment was incorrect. They won't do it. We all have this problem,
there were
and
some people today that I heard not be able to admit that. But
today, talking about
getting
me or
there.
who are you talking about?
Oh, we'll talk about it after. But
Uh-oh.
it's if he's playing better and better and better, there should from the fans and from the coaches and from us, there should be confidence in that he can do a good job. And if he's better than he was last year, Georgia will be a national championship contender again.
For sure, because he's important this year, for sure. Make sure you're reading what we were hearing. We're going to have it over the website this coming weekend. Check out all of our videos. This is not the only one we've got. DAWGSTRUCTION, the link is down below. Thanks for watching. Ryan's off to eat dinner.